Jasmine Minor.
Jasmine Minor, what's happening?
Hey, Jasmine, good morning.
Jasmine Minor.
This is Jasmine Minor.
Our own Jasmine Minor.
Three-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Jasmine Minor.
Welcome, Jasmine Minor. Absolutely.
This is The Long Game, where we celebrate the challenge, we praise the perseverance, and we highlight the how, where time is respected and the journey is the thing. There is no such thing as an overnight success. If it's worth working for, it's worth waiting for.
Miss Minor, thank you for sitting with us.
Thank you.
Here on the Long Game Novacast. For everyone watching, Jasmine Minor, host and reporter for ABC's 13, right?
ABC 7.
ABC 7.
You're thinking of ABC 13
Ooh.
Houston.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
ABC
right.
7 Chicago.
That's right. Let me get
Mhm,
my mind
mhm.
right. No, thank you for coming. Thank you for sitting down with us. I'm super appreciative and excited to talk to you. I wanted to start with what I'm assuming is your first love, tennis.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Talk me through how'd you get into it. I know your sisters played, your older sister played, right?
Yeah.
And your younger sister played.
Yeah.
But for you specifically, how did you get started and what was that like?
Well, I'm one of three girls.
Yeah.
And so it's ran in the family a little bit. My parents didn't really play much, maybe a little bit in high school, but they got married very young.
Yeah.
And so both my parents grew up in kind of the outskirts of Indianapolis. They met at Purdue. And so when they had my older sister and I, they needed a little bit of help. And so we would spend our summers with our grandparents. And there's this one high school that has like 50 something courts. I mean, it's absurd for a high school to have that many courts, but they did. And so we got into summer tennis camps, and that's what kept us busy. And then we, were out in the burbs of Chicago and joined clubs, and it kind of like Christina, my older sister, started, and then I kind of followed after her. And then Bree, my little sister, got dragged around a bunch of tennis tournaments, basically her whole childhood. So then she kind of picked it up, and then it just became like the thing that the minor sisters did.
Yeah, so there's a stat, and I want you to tell me if this is correct or not.
Uh-huh.
Your family is the first to have three
Yeah.
daughters play D1.
We are the first to have three Black women
Black
play
women
Division
play.
I tennis. I'm fairly sure that we are the first ever family to do that, but I haven't been totally able to verify that data. But I do know that we are the first family to have three Black women play Division I tennis. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me about your parents and being a driving force and having three girls playing tennis
Yeah.
all across the country, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about, the parents and your parents and how they instilled and what they instilled in you guys.
I think work ethic was really big in my family. Really big for both of my parents. Both of my parents came from, very humble beginnings, especially on my dad's side. And they worked very, very hard. They were big on education. But really, I think what they taught us was whatever you want to do. You want to be in the chess club, debate team, go be a cheerleader, tennis, ballet, whatever it is, that if you do it for real. That you give 110% in what you're doing. And then if you really don't like it, like you really doesn't bring you joy, then we find something else. But we don't just have to do something, in the minor household. And so work ethic was big. Getting good grades was big. And my parents were firm believers that whatever we put our mind to, that we could do, right? They didn't want to have, they didn't want us to have any kind of limitation on what we thought was possible. And I think that was probably the most amazing thing about both my mom and dad is that it wasn't just opening up the doors, like the ability to do that and say, hey, I'm actually going to take you to tennis camp, or I'm going to drop you off at this. I think, for a while, my little sister was playing the violin, or my older sister was playing the violin when we were younger. But it was also about, I'm going to instill the belief that when you walk through those doors, that you can achieve and you can be successful there.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that they would say to you, though? How did they go about instilling that verbally
Yeah.
or setting that example, too? I'm sure you've probably seen your parents work really hard, right?
Yeah.
To get you guys to go to those tournaments and make sure you had the proper gear. But what were some of the things that were preached in the home?
Yeah, I think, both my mom and dad would just say, you gotta want it. That was a big phrase. Like I remember hearing that a lot. We can pay for the lesson, we can drive you to the lesson, we can kind of coach you here and there, but ultimately you have to want it. And I think sometimes that can be really challenging for kids everywhere, right? Because a lot of times we really want something, but we don't necessarily have the support system. And we were very blessed to have the support system of my parents. I mean, I remember my dad and my mom, where we were kind of too young at the time to really be in the gym, right? Like lifting weights, right? Because we started very young, right? I mean, we were 10 years old and we were playing at a pretty high level. And I'd be like, all right, well, I guess I'll go for runs, right? Before school. And so my mom would just go for a run with me. My dad would get up at 5 a.m. We'd drive to the local public tennis court, and that's what we would be doing. And mind you, neither of my parents were like super athletes. They didn't play in college. They kind of played it in high school, but not really a lot. They were engineers, but they said they can toss a ball, right? Like they can go for a run.
Yeah.
And so I think it was just about saying, hey, mom, dad, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
This is what I saw. This is what I learned that the professionals do. This is how they eat. This is how they train. This is what they need in order to be the greatest at what they do. And mom and dad went, okay, let's figure out a way to make that a reality for you.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the biggest blessing, because I think that when you have that environment, it changes your entire outlook of how you see your life and what you end up doing.
How so?
Well, I mean, I think when you're not in that environment, and this is something I talk about a lot, because I believe sports are one of the most underutilized tools in society. I truly believe. I think sports touches everything:
1,000%.
education, physical, emotional health, right? Mental health, community, teamwork, drive. I mean, exposure. Just like if you want your kid to be healthy and succeed in anything, I say put them in a sport, right?
Yep.
They could be the next math genius. They could be, I don't know, the next Elon Musk. I don't care, the next president. But I'm telling you that putting them in a sport is only going to amplify that mission. And so I think it's because it naturally brings a certain environment around you, right? Cheerleaders and coaches and competition. And it naturally makes you want to raise your level of not just who you are as an athlete, but who you are as a person, because that's just what comes with the environment. And so I think my parents were aware very young on, what it did for us. And it was just like, all right, keep going,
If you could choose one of your one lesson from sports that you think is invaluable,
Yeah.
not, we talk about this all the camera, right? But we talk about the discipline, the time management, things like that.
Yeah, the teamwork, leadership,
right?
all
the
those
cliches,
things. Yeah.
right. But what
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
What's something else?
Yeah. For me,
Yeah, for you.
I think it's learning how to fail. And we did talk about this a little bit before, because, and I don't know if you felt that like as an athlete, right? But I don't think people usually don't experience like true failure until they're kind of, going into adulthood, right? Kind of their college experience, they're on their own, they're getting, a real job for the very first time, they're pouring their heart and soul to a new business, right? They're meeting someone for the relationship, whatever it is, right? And you're having to really experience the hardships of life. And as an athlete, since we were young and we started that sport, we're learning how to fail day in and day out. We're learning how to have to pour our blood, sweat, and tears into something.
And multiple times a day.
Multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Go out, perform, and it's great when it works out and we're super successful and we get to take home that medal or that trophy.
Yeah.
But then when it doesn't, when we face injuries, when we face criticism, when we face media scrutiny or scrutiny from other players, other coaches, whatever it is, right? Ourselves. And it just not working out, and then having to get back up again and again and again and again and again, right? And I think there is something beautiful in failure. Like, I truly don't think that any really successful person, and I'm not just talking about, money wise or career wise, just a successful human being
Mhm.
as you have a higher level of maturity and understanding of life and the importance of what it means to have these skills and what it does for you. I don't think you get there unless you've really understood failure, until you understood what it's like to be at the bottom
Yep.
and have to get back up,
Yep.
right? And athletes, we just have to do that for years on out. That when something comes along that is really hard, it's not that we can't feel it. It's not that we're, like we talked about, like hyper emotional, right? You're gonna see us cry when we lose the medal,
Yep.
and have a full-fledged
Yeah.
breakdown. I mean, I think I was listening to Sabalenka at Wimbledon, or no, I'm sorry, it was at Wimbledon, but at the French Open, and she lost in one of the later rounds, and she was just like, I just want to quit tennis right now. She said that in the media conference. She's like, I just want to go get a drink, and I want to go. She meant it,
Yeah.
right? Now, is she actually going to quit? I hope not. I don't think so.
Right.
But it's not that we can't feel it. It's not that you become this hard person.
Yeah.
It's that you learn how to feel it and still get back up again.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What was the lowest point for you?
Oh, gosh.
I'll give you mine first. All right.
Okay.
So, okay. It was 2006. I'm freshman,
Yeah.
first camp
Yeah.
in college. Camp ran to
Oh,
in
gosh.
in
Yeah.
Illinois, nowhere, middle of nowhere, nothing but football around.
Mm-hmm.
And
And this is before school, right?
this is before school.
Right. So school hasn't started, because that's the other thing. Because I remember football comes in early.
Yeah,
And so you haven't even really made friends yet. You haven't
Nothing.
really
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
just with your teammates,
Mhm.
and you go to camp,
Yep.
and it's brutal. This is back when you had tour days. Okay,
Mm.
I wanted to quit immediately after my first tour day. I was like, this ain't for me. Okay? Put me on the next bus, whatever.
Let me go home.
I gotta go home. But you don't, right? You don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You find something
Yeah. Hold on
right, to hold on to
Yeah.
and push through.
Yeah.
So
My lowest point. Oh gosh. There's been a couple. If I'm
Yeah.
if I'm being really honest. I think it's just because I'm so ambitious, but really that's my problem. If I stopped that, then maybe there wouldn't be the failures. But I would say my junior year was a very low point for me. I had faced, injuries that I still deal with today in both my wrists, which is a big deal for a tennis player. Usually it's carpal tunnel. It's what I have in my wrists. And it was just one of those years where kind of like everything was falling apart at the same time.
yeah,
I was I was away from home. I wasn't really around my family. I was, struggling relationally. It was hard to, I think being hurt and being out, and, I wasn't, around my team as much because of that. There's separation, there's isolation in there.
Yeah.
And there's also just the reality hitting that I had done something for nearly 20 years, that I had skipped homecomings and parties and football games and whatever, sleepovers and all that stuff for years. And for this thing that I had this huge dream and this plan for, right, wasn't going to happen the way I thought it was going to happen.
Mhm.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just something that I'd worked for like a couple years, right? This is something that I had been working for since I was 10.
Yep.
I had been doing 5 a.m. workouts since I was a kid,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So for me, it was a big deal. And this was probably my lowest, hardest point. I mean, I remember being so lost.
Mhm.
And I was like, what the heck? What
Mhm.
the heck do I do now?
Yeah.
You know?
You know what's funny? Maybe it's not funny, but it's funny to me because
Now
as an
we can
athlete-
laugh at it.
Now we can laugh at it, right? But when you get hurt, it's like you're not a part of the team anymore. And it's just
Yeah, you're
over
very
there,
isolated.
Very isolated.
I like
Yeah. Your
deal with
entire
it.
routine
Yeah.
is different. Your interactions with your teammate is different.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I remember the moment where I noticed it was going to be such a big problem. I had a private lesson with my coach, and I was trying so hard, but I couldn't hold my racket.
Hmm.
Like, that's how much damage there was in my wrist. Like, I physically could not just hold it, not hit. I mean, just hold, like physically hold the racket.
yeah.
And I remember I just broke down crying, and I was like, Coach, I can't even hold the racket.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying so hard. And they say that's kind of how the injury works, right? Like it can get even hard to hold a toothbrush,
Wow.
right? And I had it in both of my wrists.
Wow.
And so it was just, and I think when I broke down, it was all hitting at once, like all encompassing, right? Because I think what keeps athletes going the most is the fact that there's something next, right? If you lose the tournament, or you miss out on the medal, or you miss out on the championship, the Super Bowl, whatever it is, right? You can tell yourself, okay, well, next year.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, I'm gonna go start training again now.
Yeah.
Right. Next time.
Yep.
Until you get to that one time where there's not the next time.
Yep.
Where it's kind of like, okay, I've reached the end. There's not going to be a championship that I'm working towards anymore.
Right.
And I think that is where a lot of us end up having a lot of trouble kind of dealing with that reality.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%. Now, for you, that transition led you into
Journalism. Yeah. Wild. No, seriously, because I had zero experience. Zero experience. I mean, I remember meeting journalism students and they would be like, Jasmine, I dreamed about being Oprah when I was like 2 years old. And I said, well, I thought about this yesterday. So, here I am though,
Right.
I'm showing up.
Right.
And I remember, my teammates were like, oh, well, I think you'd be good on camera. And I said, okay, because my background is finance. That's what my undergrad degree is in. So nothing to do with journalism or being on camera and stuff. And
Same here, by the way.
yeah. Okay. Look where we ended up.
Yep.
All right. And so I walked over to the head of the Department of Journalism. Never had been in the building before. I just literally walked in. I walked into the office, happened to find her. And I said, hey, so I'm Jasmine. And I need you to let me in all of your senior classes because I'm a junior. I can't change my major. I can't take freshman classes because I'm an upperclassman. So you literally have to overwrite the system for me, even though you've never met me before. Right. And so she looked at me and she was like, who are you? And why are you in my office? Like, are you crazy?
Right.
And so after a conversation, she said, just go do something to prove it. Give me a reason. And I said, all right. Well, let's go figure that out. And so I said, well, I don't know anything about journalism, but I do know something about business. That's what I was studying. And I said, okay. So I put together a team of about 25 students, marketing students, advertising students, acting students, journalism students, music students, and we put on a 30-minute late night talk show with athletes. And so you had the music students make the beats, you had graphics, animation students do all the animations for us and the set design, journalism students, you needed them because you had to be a journalism student to get the equipment. So all the cameras, they got that. Somebody had to actually get it, right?
Yeah.
And help us produce it. And then, marketing students to actually market it around campus. And then we put it on, right? And we asked athletes to join us. And it was kind of like Jimmy Kimmel meets ESPN, I would say, was kind of what we were going for, right? Which seems so overdated now compared to what life is. But before, you didn't really see too many athletes on shows like that. So that was our idea. I have to tell you that if I go back and I look at that show, it's terrible. Like, it's not.
The first thing we always do is
nothing,
pretty bad.
It's nothing like, we tried. Like, there was design, there was branding. Like, we had some cool things in there. I was like, oh, this is good, right? Right? We're just figuring it out.
Yep.
But we did about 8 to 10 episodes, and I came back, to her office, and I said, "This is what I did. Does this work for you?"
Right.
And she
Here you
said,
go.
She said, "Yeah, I'll let you in." So she did let me in her senior journalism classes, which was. I'm so glad that she did, but sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe you actually said yes.
Yeah. Without, that challenge that she gave you.
Yeah.
Right. Reminds me of the subtle challenge your parents were giving you in terms of you have to want it.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to want it.
Same lesson.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
It looked different, but it's the same lesson. And then your ability to see a roadblock.
Yeah.
But also see an opportunity and figure your way out.
Yeah.
Around it, over it, under it.
All of it. Yeah.
To get to the goal that you have for yourself. talk about Rise.
Yeah, yeah.
And how did it come
How
about?
that came about.
That's
Yeah.
another.
Gosh, that's a story too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
another story there. Yeah.
Well, really what Rise started as is it was just a series of branded events that we put on to raise money for the Kevin Minor Legacy Fund, which is a fund that we created on behalf of my dad. And so, gosh, it's been 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. 4 years ago, my dad unexpectedly passed away. And it was a huge, huge loss for my family. I mean, you got 4 women in the family with mom. And so dad was the stronghold. And, he was only 54 and it was very unexpected. No one saw it coming. And so, like I said, my parents were both engineers. But dad spent a lot of time volunteering for the United States Tennis Association, the USTA, to help other kids and parents and families to make the sport more affordable, more accessible. He saw a huge need. He had 3 Black girls playing a predominantly white sport. And so he spent a lot of time with a lot of families trying to navigate, how do we change the system so kids and parents have a better opportunity, right, to get to college or to get into the tournaments that they need to. And so when he passed away, we, instead of asking for flowers, we asked for donations because we thought we were going to do a one-time donation to the USTA on dad's name. Well, then we raised about 48,000 in less than 2 days.
Wow.
And so it was really incredible. And I think when I saw that happen, it said to me that even if you didn't know my dad's name, right, you knew his heart. You knew his mission. You knew who he was because he showed up for people, right? And I remember there was a moment where we were up really late. I was working on some school project. I think I was in middle school. And Jessica Wasnick and I think we were like maybe 12 or 13 at the time. Well, Jessica was number 1 in the Midwest and I was number 2. And so I decided that I didn't like Jessica, right? So I'm up late working on my school project. I noticed my dad is up in his office. So I went over and said, "Dad, what are you working on?" He's like, "I'm working on spreadsheets. So all the tennis families have, they know what hotels and the cheaper places to stay and flights to book and, what tournaments they need to play." I said, "Why are you doing that?" And Jessica Wasnick's family was on that spreadsheet. I was like, "Dad,
Take her name off."
And I was like, "That's first of all, well, they're all my competition, right? I mean, like, because it's an individual sport. We're not a team here, right?" So I was like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And he taught me 2 lessons in that one. And the first thing he said was, "Jazz, your so-called enemy might end up being your best friend." And Jessica actually became one of my best friends because we were homeschooled together, like down the road training.
Wow.
But what he also taught me was that if you have the opportunity to give back, if you have the skill set, right? For him, it was data. For him, it was building spreadsheets. He was very, very good at that. You do it.
Yeah.
You do it because you can. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I saw. And so I think people felt my dad's heart with that. And so families, honestly, they blew our minds when we were able to do it. And that's how we built the Kevin Minor Legacy Fund. So we started there. We give out the single largest scholarship in the Midwest to a young girl. We keep it in the girls because it's girl dad. And from there, that's when I thought about Rise. Because if you look at the data, when you invest in girls in sports, you're making a direct investment into women in the global economy. 94% of senior female executives played sports earlier in life. There's a huge tie that I think we have not looked at enough. And it's because of the skills and what comes with playing sports that help girls develop into very strong, confident women later in life, no matter what route they chose, right? And so I thought, well, we need to create something that bridges that gap, right? And so that's where we thought about the Rise Society. And we put on these events, most recently, our Furryverse Gala, in late May. And the idea is that while we're supporting these girls, we're also building an environment, right, where we're helping women in the global economy succeed at the same time. Because one thing that I've noticed is that the same thing that these young girls need, the support system, the encouragement, the community, the networking, the coaching, the training, is still the same thing that I need as a woman of business today. It didn't change. And so that's what we're really trying to do there.
Now you mentioned your gala.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge success.
It was very, yeah,
A lot
yeah,
of big names.
yeah.
There's one in particular.
One in particular,
That
Good
one.
Morning America's Robin Roberts.
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
Robin, gosh, I can't say enough good things about her. I really can't. She came in as our fireside chat. And she was just the perfect person. Like I couldn't have thought of a better person to come in for our very first gala. I actually met Robin, gosh, it would have been maybe 8 years ago now. It was when I was a grad student at Northwestern. And I somehow, you talk about determination, I somehow figured out who her assistant producer, her secretary was. And I talked them into a 15-minute meeting. I remember flying myself out to New York and sleeping on a friend's couch in Brooklyn. And I told Robin that I was going to be there for like 4 days. I was just visiting family. Like I just happened to be in New York, like when she had time to meet. I was only there for that 15-minute meeting. I really was. I just put 4 days just in case she had to cancel and change the schedule. So I was there. I was that determined because I really felt like what I saw on air, even though I'd never met her in person, it just felt more genuine than anyone else that I saw. There was something about talking to someone who loves sports, but also played them at a very high level and being a Black woman at the same time. And so just something in my gut was like, I think you need to meet Robin. If you can, meet her, right? And I got 15 minutes, literally 15 minutes in between shows at Good Morning America. There's a picture of us on set. And she had watched my reel. She had given me some feedback. But the number one thing she said to me was, Jazz, God's delay is not God's denial. And I held on to that throughout my entire career. And it was just a reminder, I think, of what I learned from my dad of, despite the setbacks and despite the barriers and the mountains that might come against you and the resistance and the injuries and, the failures or whatnot, right? That doesn't mean you're being denied the dream. It just might take a little bit longer to get there. Or there's a different route, a better route that you didn't even see coming. And I just held on to that phrase. And I carried it with me. And it's funny because after that picture, I would say maybe little over a year later is when I won my first Emmy. And it was my first job in news after grad school. I took home an Emmy. And well, I would like to believe that I'm just super talented. I really don't think that. I think it's because I had people around me that inspired me and motivated me to be the best. And I think that's where that came from.
Well, I believe that people who don't believe that they're the best are usually great because they, Mama Lou was saying this off camera. We were talking about this. The folks who are great usually don't believe that they're great because it keeps them to strive, right?
Yeah.
Continue to strive, continue to search for, ways to improve.
Yeah.
But I have a really important question.
Please.
Okay. Are the hugs from Miss
Robin?
Are they as warm as I
imagined? They are.
Yeah.
Because she's just a warm person.
Yeah.
Like let me put it this way. Robin Roberts, our gala was on a Thursday night. Okay. She works Good Morning America. For those that don't understand the level of news and whatnot and how that works with a morning show, you are up at like 3, 4 a.m. She's probably getting in around 4:30, maybe even earlier than that, right? Makeup and everything done, right? That's every day. She worked Good Morning America that day, a couple hours, and she's getting on a plane, flying from New York to Chicago, gets off the plane. I think maybe she might have gotten maybe a couple hours in there, right? And then she's coming over to the gala and having to greet people and say hi to people. And you can imagine everyone that came up to her, do a whole fireside chat, be a part of the event, all those kinds of things. And then she was on a plane at like 6 or 7 a.m. the next day. And I don't think just anybody does stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, I think it takes very special people. Like I kind of saw a bit of my dad in that moment when I walked into his office and it's 2 a.m. in the morning and he's working on stuff that is not his job, that he does not get paid for, that is not even for his own family, right? It's for other people's families.
Yep.
And he was doing it anyways. And I think Robin reminded me so much of that, of that giving spirit. And that's someone that was willing to go above and beyond to help me succeed, right? She didn't have to meet with me for that 15 minutes. She didn't have to take my call. I can promise you that she gets plenty of ass and places to be and charities and fundraising. Like, I promise you, her schedule is packed. Like, I don't know her schedule, but I can tell you it is, right? But she said yes anyways. And I'm so immensely grateful that she did because it was personal for me. It meant something to me to have her just in the room to even see it.
Yeah. Now, that was the first one.
That was the first one. Second
Okay.
question.
Second one, we got to go bigger.
Bigger.
Maybe Miss Obama can come through.
Oh my gosh.
we got
Miss
to aim for
Obama.
the moon, you know.
They love sports.
They do.
Her and her brother Craig, they do love
Yeah,
sports.
they do.
So
Their part is pretty
I'm
good, by the
like,
way.
come on now.
Yeah.
I'm totally down.
Yeah.
We are open. We are available. Like,
You heard it here first.
Well, hey there, Chicago. Robin Roberts here from Good Morning America, and I am looking forward to joining you on May 28th for the Rise Affair Gala, hosted by ABC7's own Jasmine Minor. It is a celebration of purpose and possibility, coming together to uplift women in sports and to shine a light on the next generation of girls in tennis who are stepping into their power. We know that sports builds confidence, leadership, resilience. What Jasmine is building through the Kevin Minor Legacy Fund and the Women's Sports Empowerment Fund is powerful, and it's needed.
More about your dad, right? Because he's obviously so influential.
yeah.
In your life and in your family's life, right? But in other people's lives, right? Talk about making a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
You know, and losing him unexpectedly in that way is tough, right?
Yeah.
How are you today
Yeah.
after, you know, going through losing your father, starting the foundation and getting that up and off the ground? How are you today? And for people who, you know, may be going through similar situations,
Yeah.
what do you have to say in terms of encouragement for?
How am I? It depends on the moment of the day. You know?
Mm.
I feel okay right now.
Mm.
I can't promise that I'll feel the same when I walk out this door. I really can't. And that's something that I've had to learn about grief. It really just comes out of nowhere. It could be a perfect sky blue day. Nothing's happened, nothing bad's happened, no one said anything to you, right? And suddenly I'll be driving the car and I will have this like suffocating panic, like just start crying, like I'll feel it. I'll be like, oh my God, my dad's gone.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
You know, I think something that people had told me after the funeral was that grief never goes away. That was something that I heard a lot.
Right.
That it really, there's no time limit to it. It's really, it's like a bracelet. It's just something you learn to wear and you just learn how to manage it. You never ever take it off. And that's really hard as an athlete because, you know, I'm trying, you know, as athletes, you know, there's kind of a goal you're trained to get to, right?
Right.
And you're telling me that I'm going to be in this for the rest of my life, right? That was very, very hard for me to comprehend. But I think what I've learned recently, I was listening to a podcast maybe over Christmas time, and I never heard anyone talk about this part, but they said when you're grieving someone very close to you, you don't always see it, but you're also having to grieve yourself. You yourself are not the same person. You're different. And you're also trying to cope with what makes you different, what you like about yourself now, what you don't like anymore, and I noticed even changes in me, right? Things that I used to love to take walks. And I noticed I wasn't going for walks anymore. I used to love to write. I noticed I stopped writing. And I didn't even realize that I had stopped until I looked up one day and I was like, wow, it's kind of been like 2 years since you've done something like this. I noticed that, speaking of the fun, that my natural ambition came out to the point where I just went workhorse mode,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if that was the healthiest thing or not.
Yeah.
But it's like I just
It's
kind
something
of
that you can grab onto.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm working and working and working and working.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to feel at the same time, right? And so I think the biggest thing that I have learned that I can tell everybody is that you have to give grace to yourself. I mean, really, you have to learn to forgive yourself when you just cannot show up,
Right.
or when you show up as someone that's not very fun to be around. And there will be people that understand how to give you that same grace, and there will be people that just don't get it. They just don't get it. They don't understand because they haven't experienced a heavy loss yet, right?
Right.
And I say yet because we all eventually are going to get there.
Yeah.
Right. But I think being able to say, I forgive me for not showing up the way that I needed to, for maybe letting grief overwhelm me. Or I forgive me for not allowing myself to feel it. And now I'm just gonna start again tomorrow. Me and my mom kind of have that phrase of, we're gonna try again tomorrow. We kind of tell each other that often when we have really bad days. And we just kind of get up, right? And sometimes there was a period of time where I made my bed today.
Yeah.
Like that, like it literally was that, right? I got through the entire 8-hour workday, right?
Yeah.
I ate today.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it was that
Yeah.
basic.
Yeah.
And that was long stretches. But grace is
I love
the
that.
biggest
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Grace, yeah.
You have to. It's hard to give yourself grace.
It is. It really is, because your whole world has stopped, but the rest of the world is still moving.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
The world keeps moving.
Yep.
Even though your world has fallen apart, And so I think that can be very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, shouldn't the rest of the world stop? Like, that's the way you feel.
Yeah.
It's not logical, right? It doesn't make any sense, but that's what you feel because it's so strong for you as an individual. And so I just think it's giving yourself grace to be exactly where you are.
Yeah.
And being maybe a little excited, maybe a little anxious to learn who you are now and who you're becoming.
Yeah. Your sisters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brie and Christina.
Brie and Christina. Christina went to Illinois.
Illinois,
She-
yes,
she
you're on the
chose the
bottom.
right school.
Okay. Let's not go that far. All right. You are supportive because of my sister, but dang. Yeah, so she went to Illinois, and my little sister played for Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
Competition in the house. You guys are 4 years apart on
4 years apart,
Mhm.
yeah. So Christina's 4 years older than me, and Bree's 4 years younger than me.
So it's really hard to compete against your older sister.
Yeah, because we were all kind of just
Yeah.
just out of
Yeah.
each other's age range or age
Yeah.
bracket.
But what about like support? All right. Your sisters coming. Talk to me about like the unity that you and your sisters have. And
Yeah.
Christina set the mode. You follow
Yeah.
Brie Kent.
Yeah.
What about the unity between the three of you?
So honestly the best example that I would say is Bree was playing at Michigan. It was her sophomore year, I want to say. Sophomore, junior year, I can't remember, but she was playing in NCAAs, and NCAAs was being hosted at the University of Georgia. And at the time, my older sister was in New Jersey because she was working in compliance at Rutgers University. I was actually in DC I was at Northwestern doing my grad program, and I took 6 months to be in DC to report on the White House and things like that. And I remember Bree had won her quarterfinal match. And my older sister calls me and she's like, I feel like we should drive down to Georgia. I feel like we should just get in the road and do it. She might win this. I don't know, Now Bree was not supposed to win. It's like she wasn't a high seed. Like she was gonna play, take the summer off to deal with an injury, right? That was the plan. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we were like, feel like we gotta get there. So Christina got in the car, drove from Jersey to DC, picked me up. We got in the car, we drove all night. I mean, we just did it straight. We didn't stop. Like,
wow.
We all did it. We straight. So she drove straight from Jersey. Then I took over, drove from DC all the way to Atlanta. We kind of took turns driving because we had to be there like the next day.
Ooh, that's
right.
I hit my max at 6 hours.
I don't know how long that drive was. I had to look, but it was Jersey to DC to it was Georgia, and so University of Georgia, and so I was like, it was a long drive.
I have brothers. I wouldn't do that for them.
No, we did it for little Bree. But I think because she won the quarterfinals, so she was in the semis the next day. So you had to just get in and go. I mean, you didn't have time to stop, right? To make her match the next morning. She didn't know we were coming. And so we showed up and surprised her. She was super happy. And she ended up winning that year. And Bree became the first Black woman to win a singles NCAA championship. Arthur Ashe was the first Black person to do so.
Wow.
And she went on that year. When you win NCAAs, you get a wild card into the main draw at the U.S. Open. And she played in the U.S. Open that year.
Wow.
And so, but I think that's just, it's a big testimony to our family. That's how we were raised. I mean, we were in different states and different countries all year round since we were young, and both my parents worked and trying to manage, which girl is going where kind of thing. So we didn't have the typical dinner at 6 family because we were everywhere. But my parents were very big on we show up for each other. We show up at tournaments, we show up for the graduations, we show up for the successes. We get in the car, we go, right? Whatever it takes to get there. And that was something that my dad and my mom, I think both collectively in their marriage, had decided that they wanted for us to show up for each other.
Greatness comes from a great foundation.
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
And I think it's clear that your parents set that great foundation.
Yeah.
And you are continuing the legacy that your parents instilled in the three of you, or you and your sisters, through the foundation and through helping young women in sports, right?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, now everybody's kind of catching up with
women's sports. Yeah,
right?
right. Now we're popular.
right. But how excited are you for the future of
where we're going?
The recognition.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So I mean, my plan is to, take the tennis foundation that we have and grow it into what I see what the Rise Society is going to be, which is a global women's sports empowerment fund. I want to be able to bridge that gap between girls in sports and women in the global economy everywhere. I believe it's the most necessary thing. And like I told you, I think sports is one of the most underutilized tools that we have as a society. It touches everything, it touches fashion and tech and finance and community and nonprofits and health and exposure, right? I think in education, big one. And I just think we tend to treat sports as a silo, as kind of this like the side after school program, whatever, instead of using it as a collaborative tool, right, to emphasize the mission of others. And that's where the Global Women's Sports Empowerment Fund that we're building is going to come in and what it's meant to be. And that's the way I see it. And truly that's where I really, the big kahuna, that's the big dream for me. I tell people that I love the investment into women's sports. I love the fact that people are buying into leagues and teams and stadiums now. I think that's great. But I think that you build the arena and you don't build up the people that are going to fill up that arena, I think the investment kind of falls short of what it could be. And I'm not just talking about athletes. All the executives, the female executives that help run that team,
Yep.
all the female-owned businesses that are around that community. What I want to be able to do is create an empowerment fund that can assist in not just the investments that are happening, but develop them as generational impact. So that it's not that we just built a building and we gave a team some money and we said, whoop-de-doo, but it's that we actually really created long-term growth, that there was an impact there. And that's what I mean, that's the dream. That really is the dream.
Well, if we've learned anything from this conversation,
What is that?
is that you're going to figure it out.
I'm gonna figure it out because, like I told you, that even my switch to journalism, right? It was a moment where I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think most people run from that. They want to be the smartest in
But
the room.
that's where genius and creativity and
It all
everything
mixes.
is born in
Yeah.
that moment of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do it.
I want to do it.
So I'm going to figure out how to
I'm
make
going to
this
figure it
thing
out.
come
I'm
to
just going to
life.
start. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to do the next best thing.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know how to, I don't know, hit record on camera.
Yeah.
So I Googled, right?
Mhm.
How to hit record on camera. Like it was like that for me. But I think the biggest lesson and what has helped me is the willingness to be a sponge. A lot of people come in with a level of, I think, ego and pride, where it's like, I know what I'm doing, or I know I'm trying something new, but I'll figure it out. It's just it's like a little bit of a resistance. You don't want to ask the dumb question. Sometimes it's just fear. It's just fear of looking stupid.
Yep.
For me, I was like, look, I don't know what I'm doing anyway. So if I have to look stupid in order to learn, I'm going to do it, right? But there was a level of humility that had to come with that. I had to be willing to take criticism. I had to be willing to listen to people that I hadn't met. I had to be willing to be shown new things and also be willing to get it wrong and fail, right? And get back up again.
Right.
So yeah, you got to be a sponge if you're going to be successful. I don't think there's anyone in the world truly that is super successful that would tell you there's a point where they just stop learning.
Correct.
I don't think anybody would tell you that. I don't think any top athlete would. I don't think Michael Jordan would. Serena. I don't think any of that. I would say they would tell you that they're actively still learning.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, look, I appreciate it. I learned a ton. I hope everybody listening and watching learned as well. And I'm sure they have taken many gems from this conversation. Before we go on the long game, we like to talk about, and we have in this entire conversation, various touch points, and where you start right now isn't where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For you, do you have a moniker or something that you live by, that you tell yourself every day to help you get through the times in which the hard times or the challenging moments, etc.?
I do. Not so much a phrase.
Okay.
A story that my dad shared with me.
Okay.
I was 10 and he used to sit in this rocking chair. And he put me on his lap and he said, Jazz, I know you're going to be really successful one day. I know that. And he said, but what you do with that success is even more important. And I said, well, what do you mean, Daddy? And so he gave me this analogy. He said, think of a third world country that doesn't have access to water. He said, you could be the person who picks up a bucket, goes down the river, fills it up, and brings it back, and you'll help one family. He said, or you can be the person that maybe finances bottles and bottles and gallons of water, and you bring it to the village, and you'll help maybe a couple hundred families. And he said, but? And I said, but what, Daddy? And he said, if you can be the person that builds the entire water filtration system, you change generations. I used to think that was a story about taking your skills and making it something, but I think what he was trying to teach me in that moment was it didn't matter who you were in the story. What mattered was, what are you doing with the gifts that you've been given? Can you pick up the bucket? Can you finance the water bottles? Do you have the ability to build the water filtration system? Can you go to college? Can you marry the person that you love? Can you achieve that dream and do something different in the world? Can you give back and build that nonprofit? He said, whatever it is, do it simply because you can. And I never lost track of that. That's why he was building that spreadsheet. It wasn't because he had the time or it was giving him extra money or because there was something super beneficial to him or his family for it. It was because he had the skills that he said, this is what I can do.
Wow.
So I'm going to do it.
Wow. Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you again, and I wish you nothing but the best for all your future endeavors. I can't wait to see what you do with Rise and
I can't to see what comes out of the long game.
Yeah, that too. That too. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is The Long Game, where we celebrate the challenge, we praise the perseverance, and we highlight the how, where time is respected and the journey is the thing. There is no such thing as an overnight success. If it's worth working for, it's worth waiting for.